Welcome inside another edition of Trailblazer Weekly, live from the CEC TV studios. I'm your host, Carrick Segmiller, and we've got a loaded show today. We'll take a look back at the last week in Trailblazer athletics, and believe me, there's a lot to get to this week. We'll also hear from women's tennis head coach Eric Pelton, as well as football senior Aubrey Reed in our weekly player profile feature. There's no time to waste, so let's go. Trailblazer Weekly starts now. We open the show today on the gridiron as the football team traveled to Chadron, Nebraska for its first matchup with the Eagles of Chadron State College on Saturday. Dixie State entered the game looking for its first road win of the season as well as its first set of back-to-back victories since 2013. On the game's opening drive, the Trailblazers marched 79 yards in 12 plays to set up a Josh Thompson to Orlando Wallace touchdown. Thompson swings it to the right side, and Orlando does the rest with stiff arms and spin moves on his way to the end zone to make it 7-0 Dixie State. 2 drives later, the Trailblazers faced a 4th and 1 from the 3-yard line, and everybody in the stadium expected Clifford Sims to get the carry, but instead it was Josh Thompson with a perfect read option run to make it 14-0. Dixie State tacked on 3 more in the second quarter with an Anthony Ray's season-long 35-yard field goal to make it 17-0. And not to be outdone, Clifford Sims made sure he got in on the scoring action in the first half, going 43 yards untouched to the end zone to push the lead to 24-0 at halftime. In the second half, the Trailblazers weren't finished. Peter Brown snagged the first Dixie State interception of the season, 3 plays into the third quarter, and set the offense up nicely at the 5-yard line. Thompson scored his second touchdown 3 plays later, taking another read option run across the goal line. Dixie State would get the ball back 1 play later after a CSC fumble on an option play, and again the offense was set up nicely from the Eagle 5-yard line. Orlando Wallace scored his second touchdown of the game 3 plays later. Dejon Coleman scored the final Dixie State touchdown of the day on a 5-yard run, and the Trailblazers cruised the rest of the way to a 44-27 victory. Now in the game, the Trailblazers racked up 470 yards of total offense, with 370 of those yards coming on the ground. The first time Dixie State has rushed for 300 or more yards since last Halloween at South Dakota Mines. It was a total team effort to get the win, but let's take a look at a few impact players who helped secure the victory. Dejon Coleman led the way on offense, rushing for 158 yards and a touchdown on 24 carries, his first 100-yard rushing game of the season and 6th of his career at Dixie State. Defensively, Peter Brown led the way with a team-high 6 tackles and, of course, grabbed the first Dixie State interception of the season in the third quarter. So again, big performances for those guys as well as the team as a whole. We look forward to seeing what is in store this weekend in a big matchup on the road. Of course, we'll tell you who the opponent is and tell you a little bit more about that game a little bit later on the show. To the tennis court now as the women's tennis team opened its fall dual match schedule last week in Grand Junction, Colorado. The Trailblazers played 4 matches in 3 days at the event hosted by Colorado Mesa and prevailed victorious in each match. The Trailblazers defeated Colorado Mesa 6-3 on Thursday, followed by 2 wins on Friday, 7-2 over Colorado Christian in the morning and 6-3 over Metro State Denver later in the afternoon. Dixie State wrapped up the weekend with a 9-0 sweep of Colorado State Pueblo on Saturday. Now the undefeated 4-0 start marks the best start in Dixie State women's tennis history. 3 Dixie State players earned perfect singles records at the tournament, led by sophomore Lacey Hancock, who earned one of our women's tennis impact players honors. Hancock went 3-0 at number 1 singles and 1-0 at number 3 singles to lead the Trailblazers to victory. Freshman Kyra Haramis and junior Alex Makashov also went 4-0 in singles play at the tournament. In doubles play, senior Laura Hartle and freshman Maria Kana Goldsmith earned the impact players honors, going 4-0 at number 3 doubles. Again, an awesome start to the season for women's tennis. They'll now take a break and resume play in the spring. The men's and women's cross-country teams headed to Cedar City, Utah in the SUU Color Country Invite on Saturday. The race marked the last race for both teams before the Pac-West Championships in Hilo, Hawaii on Saturday, October 22nd. The women's team finished the 2.5-mile race in 4th place with a total team time of 1:20:20. Freshman Alyssa Herring logged a team-best 19th place finish with a time of 15:25.5. 2 others finished in the top 30 as freshman Casey Labram finished in 27th place and a time of 15:57.5, and Gabby Royal crossed the finish line in 30th place with a time of 16:10.5. The men's team also finished in 4th place with a total team time of 1:38.47. Senior Rodney Ward led the way with a 19th place finish and a time of 19:19.8. Sophomore Hunter Chamberlain crossed the finish line one spot behind Ward with a time of 19:22.7 and a 20th place finish, while senior George Barlow finished in 27th place with a time of 19:48.7. Dixie State women's swimming team made its collegiate debut Friday with a 6th place showing at the Pacific Collegiate Swim and Dive Conference relays held at the Splash Aquatic Center in La Mirada, California. In all, the Trailblazers competed in 10 relay events and posted 3 top 5 finishes en route to collecting 26.5 points in their first ever competitive meet. Dixie State finished 4th overall in 2 events, beginning with the 500-yard freestyle relay with a time of 4:55.82. Sophomore Phoebe James led off with the 25.47 50-yard leg, while freshman Audrey Parrish and Millie Snelders swam the 100-yard and 150-yard legs, respectively, and freshman Abigail Graves anchored the team with a 200-yard swim. Parrish and James, along with freshman Megan Draney and sophomore Mackenzie Fitzgerald, combined for a 4th place finish in the 200-yard freestyle in 1:43.45. The Trailblazers also placed tied for 5th in the 3x100-yard backstroke as freshmen Grace Kroll, Kayla Greer, and Katrina Price touched the wall at 3:07.76. Dixie State completed its debut weekend with several top performances at the PCSC Pentathlon held on Saturday. Sophomore Phoebe James highlighted the Trailblazers' effort as she posted the fastest 50-yard freestyle time in the entire meet with a 25.19 en route to a 16th place showing in her pentathlon. Fellow sophomore Mackenzie Fitzgerald followed in 23rd place overall in the same pentathlon with a combined time of 3:08.75. Freshman Gracie Kroll and Kayla Greer each recorded the 3rd and 4th fastest meet times, respectively, in the 100 backstroke in their pentathlon, while freshman Audrey Parrish was the top Trailblazer finisher in that pentathlon with an overall time of 6:42.04. In the freestyle pentathlon, freshman Abigail Graves posted the best Dixie State finish with a 20th place combined time of 9:17.38. So a wonderful start for the women's swimming team in their first competitive meets as a team. The men's golf team competed at the Colorado Mesa RMAC No. 2 Invitational in Grand Junction, Colorado on Monday and Tuesday. The Trailblazers sat in 9th place after the first day, but moved up 2 spots on Tuesday to finish in 7th place overall at 29 over. Sophomore John Reed was Dixie State's top finisher as he wound up in a 5-way tie for 7th overall at 1 under after shooting a final round 2 over 72. Sophomore Nicholas Britt fired an even par 70 to finish tied for 18th at 4 over, while freshman Jace Frampton placed 31st overall at 8 over. It's time to take our first break. When we come back, we'll take a look at last week's volleyball and men's and women's soccer results. Don't go anywhere. There's a lot more Trailblazer Weekly after this timeout.
Where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back inside this edition of Trailblazer Weekly. It's time to continue our look back in the last week of Dixie State athletics, and we start with volleyball on this segment. Dixie State volleyball pushed its winning streak to 9 straight matches and remained perfect top Pacific West Conference standings after the Trailblazers swept away Azusa Pacific in 3 sets Saturday afternoon at the Student Activity Center. Dixie State scored 7 of the first 8 points of the opening set and held a 15-9 lead midway through the stanza. Azusa Pacific would rattle off 4 straight points to close the deficit to 15-13, but the Trailblazers responded with a 10-3 spurt to win the first set 25-16 and to go up 1-0 in the match. APU came out aggressive early in set 2 and raced to an 11-6 lead and was in the driver's seat at 18-15, but Dixie State would again put together another run as the Trailblazers scored 10 of the final 13 points of the stanza en route to a 25-21 victory and a commanding 2-set lead. Dixie State never trailed in the decisive third stanza and led by as many as 9 points late in the frame before closing out the match with a 25-17 win. In the match, 8 of Dixie State's 11 players who saw time in the match registered at least 1 kill, led by senior outside hitter Delane Daniel, who connected for a match-high 10 kills. Daniel also posted her 8th double-double of the year with a team-high 10 digs. And for the second time in 3 weeks, Dixie State senior middle blocker Lindsey Garrett was named Pacific West Conference Volleyball Defender of the Week on Monday, landing her Impact Player honors here on Trailblazer Weekly for volleyball. Garrett recorded 1 solo block and 5 block assists in the Trailblazers' 3-set sweep of the Azusa Pacific Cougars. Garrett enters play this week second in the Pac West in total blocks per set at 1.16 blocks per set. So congratulations to Lindsey Garrett and the volleyball team as they head to Hawaii, and we'll tell you about their opponents in the upcoming weekend a little bit later in the show. The women's soccer team opened its 4-match Hawaii trip at BYU Hawaii on Saturday. Dixie State picked up its 3rd straight victory as the Trailblazers posted a 1-0 road result over BYU Hawaii Saturday afternoon in Laie. The match also marked the final time the Trailblazers and the Seasiders squared off on the pitch, as BYU Hawaii will discontinue its intercollegiate athletic program in the spring of 2017. The Trailblazers scored the game's lone goal just 8 minutes into the match when senior Alexis Torres tucked home a shot past a diving Seasider goalkeeper for her first goal of the year. Meanwhile, the Dixie State defense played a strong 90 minutes as the unit held BYU Hawaii to just 7 shots, 2 on goal. BYU Hawaii was just as stout on defense as Dixie State was held to only 5 total shot attempts, 1 on frame, but that 1 shot was the difference in a physical match that featured 38 combined fouls, 3 yellow cards, and one red card ejection. Now, the Trailblazers then headed to Hawaii Pacific for the second match of the 4-match trip on Monday, hoping to keep its win streak alive. And they did not disappoint as Dixie State treated everyone in attendance to a historic performance. Junior forward Darian McCloy became the first Trailblazer in 2 seasons to record a hat trick as the women's soccer team posted its 4th straight Pacific West Conference victory with a 4-1 win over the Sharks in Waipahu. McCloy had her boot on all 4 Dixie State goals on the day, starting in the 28th minute when she poked away a mishandled save by the Sharks goalkeeper and tucked home the first goal of the match. She struck again just over 2.5 minutes later as she scored off a deflected save on a Cammie Hunter shot attempt to stake the Trailblazers to a 2-0 lead. In all, Dixie State scored 3 first-half goals in the span of 6 minutes and 7 seconds, with a third tally coming at the 33-41 mark of the match when McCloy played a breakaway ball to senior Megan Spencer, who fired home a wide-open shot from 20 yards out to give Dixie State a 3-goal cushion. McCloy then notched her 3rd goal of the day midway through the 77th minute when she stole the ball from a Shark defender and blasted home a shot in front of the HPU frame to extend the Dixie State lead to 4-0. The Sharks got one of the goals back thanks to a converted penalty kick with about 8 minutes remaining in regulation play, but that would be as close as the Sharks would get as Dixie State held off Hawaii Pacific the rest of the way to get the 4-1 victory. And considering her performance, this should come as no surprise, but for her efforts in the wins, Darian McCloy is our Trailblazer Weekly Women's Soccer Impact Player. McCloy's hat trick is the 11th in Dixie State's NCAA Division II era and is the first one recorded since former DSU player Jennifer Mason achieved the feat at Chaminade on October 6, 2014. So big congrats to the women's soccer team as well as Darian McCloy. We hope they can keep it up as they wrap up their 4-match Hawaii trip later this weekend. Like the women's soccer team, the men's soccer team also opened its 4-match Hawaii trip at BYU Hawaii on Saturday. Dixie State won for the 7th straight time and remained perfect atop the Pac West standings with a 1-0 road victory over BYU Hawaii in Laie. The match also marked the final time the Trailblazers and Seasiders would square off on the pitch like the women's side, as BYU Hawaii will discontinue its intercollegiate athletic program in the spring of 2017. The Trailblazers tallied the lone goal of the match late in the first half when freshman forward Moises Medina secured a rebound off the post, moved past the defender, and tucked home his third goal of the season. For Medina, who was named Pac West Freshman of the Week last Monday, it was his 3rd straight game-winning goal overall. The Trailblazer defense made sure that goal would stand as Dixie State limited BYU Hawaii to 11 total shots on the day, including just 6 shots on frame. Trailblazer redshirt freshman goalkeeper Zach Nielsen recorded his first solo collegiate shutout victory in goal as he made 5 saves, while the defense picked up a team save in keeping the Seasiders off the scoreboard. After that, it was off to Waipahu and a matchup with Hawaii Pacific on Monday. And bolstered by a strong offensive and defensive effort, Dixie State extended its winning streak to 8 straight and remained perfect in Pac-West play with a 3-0 road shutout victory over the Sharks. Dixie State broke open the scoring late in the 22nd minute when sophomore midfielder Gabby Medina netted his team-leading 4th goal of the year on a straightaway blast from 25 yards out to put the Trailblazers up 1-0. Dixie State would tack on a pair of insurance goals in the second half, the first coming off the boot of junior midfielder Sean Jenny in the waning seconds of the 53rd minute. Then 11 minutes later, junior midfielder Arthur DeWood tucked home his 3rd goal of the year to stake Dixie State to a 3-goal cushion. For his performance in the BYU-Hawaii match, freshman goalkeeper Zach Nielsen was named Pacific West Conference Freshman of the Week on Monday, and that also earns him our Trailblazer Weekly Men's Soccer Impact Player honors. In his first collegiate start, Nielsen made a career-high 5 saves en route to his first career shutout on the road against the Pac-West top-scoring team. Nielsen is now the 4th Trailblazer to earn the Pac-West Weekly Freshman honor, joining midfielder Yandir Porta and forwards Christian Hall and Moises Medina on that list. So again, a big shout out to men's soccer for keeping their win streak alive, sitting atop the Pac-West standings, and to Zach Nielsen doing a great job in place of Brad Trella in goalkeeper. With that, we'll take our next break. When we come back, I'll sit down with women's tennis head coach Eric Pelton to discuss his team's impressive start to the 2016-2017 season. We're back with more Trailblazer Weekly after this timeout.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden T holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
I'm Anne. I'm a scientist.
Recycling takes a team.
Why don't you let me and me help you out?
Everyone plays a part. Don't trash
I love taking stuff apart and building new things out of it.
what could be treasure.
Pal's my most advanced android. This is awesome. You haven't seen anything yet.
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
How you doing, Southern Utah? It's a good day to be alive in the STG.
I'd have been going nuts.
You would've lost your mind!
I
You
could
would've
not
lost your mind!
believe he didn't even shake there. He gave him the finger, Devin. No.
Southern Utah's home for the best in sports includes local Region 9 high school games, Dixie State University, the NBA's new look, Utah Jazz, plus the best of the National Football League with the worldwide presence of ESPN to the Devin Dixon Show every afternoon from 4 to 6.
And welcome back to Trailblazer Weekly, live from the CEC Television studios. The women's tennis team is fresh off a 4-0 trip in Colorado, and today we have head coach Eric Pelton here to help us break it all down. Coach, thanks for being here.
It's good to be here.
Great to have you here and chat with you after obviously a tremendous weekend for your team. In fact, at 4-0 right now, I understand, if I'm not being told incorrectly, that that's the best start in your program's history. Am I right?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's the best start we've had, and like I say, from starting the program 10 years ago to where we are now, yeah, they dominated these first four matches, which we've done well in the past, but never quite this well.
Yeah, certainly you can't ask for a better start than that. And if I looked at the stats correctly, really only lost, what was it, 4 matches total in singles play the whole weekend, and it just was a dominant performance for your team. So let's look at that. I mean, let's look at it each day by day. We'll break it down. On Thursday, you're there. You're taking on the host school, Colorado Mesa, and what was one of the closest matches for you all weekend. You get the 6-3 win to start the weekend off on Thursday. How important was that win and vital to getting momentum going forward throughout the weekend?
Yeah, it was important. I mean, going in, I knew we had the team to be able to compete. But again, going in with 3 freshmen, so their first ever match, and then a sophomore, a junior, and 1 senior. I knew we were looking good, but until we actually get out there, it's hard to tell. And so we came out. They did well in the doubles, but again, only picking up 1 point did make us a little nervous. But then they came out and, like I said, just dominated the singles. We picked up 5 out of the 6 singles, which was huge. I was impressed with their performance. Especially with some of the freshmen stepping up and pulling out some big wins. So it was exciting.
So you get that victory on Thursday. Team's on kind of a emotional high after that victory. Then you have your big day. 2 matches on Friday: Colorado Christian in the morning, Metro State Denver in the afternoon. How much does that change your approach as a coach and as a team in general when you know that you've got 2 matches in that one day?
It definitely makes it a little challenging. But again, I know that they've been working hard. I knew that physically they were where they needed to be. I think a lot of it was just going to be coming down to mentally. And so again, coming out in the morning, I wasn't too worried. I knew that they would still be where they needed to be, and so they did. They came out. They played well against Colorado Christian. They won the matches that they needed to, and so again, that was a big win. And then coming into that afternoon, that was probably the biggest match was that next evening match against Metro. After having played 2 matches, already played one that morning, I knew that was really going to be kind of the test of where we are.
So then you wrap up the weekend on Saturday. I mean, you're 3-0 at that point, and you come out and your team just, for lack of a better word, obliterates Colorado State Pueblo. All respect to them, but you get the 9-0 shutout to wrap up the weekend. I couldn't have asked for a better way to end the weekend at 4-0 with a 9-0 shutout.
It was, and they came out, and after 3 matches they were a little bit slow, and it was early, but they picked it up. They closed out the doubles, which was huge, and then they really kind of rolled through the singles. And their singles play has been, amazing. The weekend really impressed me. I knew that we were going to do well. I knew we had chances to really win all 4, but until we actually got there and did it, it was impressive. I was impressed with what they did.
So again, an impressive and extraordinary start for your team. Let's talk about the team now just a little bit. It's kind of an intriguing, not that it isn't every year, but you look at the roster. You've only got 2 players that were on the roster last year. Like you said, a lot of freshmen. You got a good transfer coming in from a different school in Alex Makashov, but some very talented freshmen. But just talk about the dynamic of that. You only return 2 players, and you're starting with a whole fresh start this year.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I was, like I say, with only two returners, we were a little slim, but I knew coming in that we had some talent coming in, and so it was exciting. I felt that we had the best team we've had probably ever, and so to actually be able to get out there and see it. But no, coming in with the freshmen, no, it's been impressive. Like I say, I've been highly impressed with them and their ability to just go out and win right away, and dealing with those pressure situations and overcoming them, and definitely Alex as a junior as a transfer coming in. She's played 2 years, at some good schools, has some experience, and she showed that. She helped us in our Metro win. She was down, 2-5, 40-15, so match set point. She came back, won that set, and then closed out the second set, which I think really helped kind of drive that victory home. So yeah, it's been exciting to kind of see the dynamics of these new girls come in and just step up and take charge.
Would be remiss if I didn't mention more of them by name. We've talked about Lacey, we've talked about Alex. We've mentioned the freshmen, but the Goldsmith twins, they're just a great addition to this team. Kyra Harames. You just got to name them all. Kaylee Milligan stepped in and had a big win over the weekend. You got to give them all the shout out and all the credit in the world for a great weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And that it is. All of them. As you mentioned, all their names. We can talk. I could tell you stories about every one of them this weekend and just what they did and go on. But yeah, it was awesome.
So you wrap up your fall schedule with the dual matches over there at Colorado Mesa. How does that work from here on out? Are you still practicing at this point? And obviously you don't pick up official play again until the spring. But how does that work with that big long break that you have? Are you still practicing? Are you still working on things?
We are. We go into kind of our off season where we can only do a couple hours of individual work a week. So I'll be working with the girls, for an hour or two every week, and then then they can continue their conditioning. But again, we don't really pick up full practice again until we get back into it in January. So we do as much as the NCAA will allow us, and that's kind of where we're coming in at. So.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by today and just breaking down the weekend with us. We're just, like you, just excited and thrilled about this new team, about what you've done over the weekend, that 4-0 start, and hope that you can continue to build on that in the offseason, and we'll look forward to what you do this next spring season. Before we let you go, we do have our Trailblazer Weekly hard hat here for you to sign. Each of our guests that has stopped by has signed that thing, and it just kind of represents the hard work that the good folks here at CEC did in building our new set for our interviews here on Trailblazer Weekly. So pick a spot on there and sign it. While he does that, it's time to tell you that it's time for another timeout here on Trailblazer Weekly. When we come back, we'll take a look ahead at the next week in Dixie State athletics, as well as hear from football senior Aubrey Reed in our player profile feature. Stick with us. There's more Trailblazer Weekly after this.
What are you, superheroes?
Just four brothers who hate bullies and love this city.
Gear up, guys.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason. Because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
There is a
Welcome back to Trailblazer Weekly. It's time now to take a look ahead at another busy weekend in Dixie State athletics. And as you see on your screen, you can follow along with us there. We start just later this afternoon down in Hawaii, the men's and women's soccer team with the third match of their 4-match trip in Hawaii. They are at Hawaii Hilo tonight. The men's team will start that off with a 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time start, and then the women's match will start later at 7 p.m. there at Hawaii Hilo. Then it's on to Friday, and this is a much lighter weekend than what we've had in some weeks, but still a little bit going on. Friday, the lone event that we have is volleyball. Women's volleyball getting their Hawaii trip started at BYU Hawaii. That's going to be a late one. It's 7:30 p.m. Hawaii time, but if you want to follow along on the live stats, on the live video, you can do so from DixieAthletics.com, but because it is 7:30 p.m. in Hawaii, that will not start until 11:30 p.m. here in Utah. So if you want to stay up late with us and enjoy that match, you can on Friday. Then on Saturday, like I said, a little bit lighter schedule than we've had in the past. It's men's and women's soccer. On Saturday at Chaminade, the men's match will start at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and the women's match will be a 7 p.m. Mountain Time start to that one. Then football. This is the big one that I was talking about earlier. We've got a matchup at number 23 Colorado Mesa. That'll be a 7 p.m. kick Mountain Time there in Grand Junction. You can hear the game on ESPN 97.7 FM, and go to DixieAthletics.com also to get a link to view the video. But that's a big one as the Trailblazers look for their first victory over a ranked opponent in the Division II era. 0-10 all time in those games, an opportunity to do some good things and make history for the Trailblazers in Grand Junction. Then it's the women's volleyball team wrapping it up later that night with another late match here in Utah. They're at Hawaii Pacific, and that will start 7 p.m. Hawaii time, which means it does not start until 11 p.m. Utah time. That's the weekend. We move into the next week on Monday and Tuesday. You've got on Monday men's golf at the Cal State Monterey Bay Otter Invitational. It's an all-day event. Later that night, you also have women's volleyball at Hawaii Hilo, a 5 p.m. start to that, which is a 9 p.m. Utah time start. And then, of course, that men's golf tournament at Cal State Monterey Bay wrapping up on Tuesday, the 18th, in an all-day event there. You see it there on your screen. You wish the men's golf team the best of luck, and all the teams in this next weekend and week of Dixie State Athletics. Of course, we'll have all those results for you next week on the show. It's time now for our weekly player profile feature. This week's guest is having a senior year to remember, helping the football team to a 3-3 record at the halfway mark in the season. This week, Trailblazer Weekly correspondent Shelby Young caught up with football senior Aubrey Reed.
Aubrey Reed, hometown Tacoma, Washington. Sport football, position wide receiver, year senior, and major is media studies. Came to Dixie with my best friend who graduated last year, Nate Stevens. He played receiver for us, and we just wanted to play with each other. Again, we played with each other in junior college, so we thought this would be the best bet to come here together. My family's very supportive of me and everything I do, so when I started playing football, they loved it, and they still watch me to this day. If they can't make a game, they live stream it and talk about it all the time, text me after the game, let me know how I did, what I can work on. They always have some things I can work on. Favorite part about football is scoring touchdowns, obviously, and just helping my team any way to get the win. I would like them to remember me as one of the hardest working players on the team, and know that they can always count on me to make a play, or at least try my hardest to make a play. I like catching the ball. I feel like that's one of my strong points ever since growing up, so that's attracted me to play receiver. I like running routes, and just scoring touchdowns. Like I said, I love that. If I had to pick one, it would be Antonio Brown, just because I'm a Steelers fan and he's the best receiver in the league to me. He can run every route, great hands, he can do everything. I just try to be like him. I do have a lot of aspirations to go professional, whether that be Arena League, Canadian, NFL, just a chance to play after, just to get some more experience. You know, you never know where that could lead to. Play every down, every play, every game like it's your last, because you never know when it's going to be over. Like, I suffered a season-ending injury last year, didn't play, didn't know if I would recover and play again, so I'm just saying, never take it for granted, always play as hard as you can. Professional football first. If that doesn't work out, then I want to be a sports broadcaster or on my own radio show, somewhere around there. Fourth down, I'm on the 5, I'm running the fade. Favorite route. It's my favorite route ever.
I'm Aubrey Reed. Come check us out October 22nd when we play Colorado School of the Mines on homecoming.
Another great player profile feature there. Our correspondents Shelby Young and Hayden Peterson do a great job on those. We appreciate their efforts on that. That'll do it for today's show. Stay tuned to DixieAthletics.com for all the weekend's results and updates. Of course, we'll have all the highlights for you next week. Thanks again for watching. I'm Carrick Segmon, and this is Trailblazer Weekly. We'll catch you next week.